I wanted to talk today about mental health care. It's a very important thing to me personally, but I also think as a society, it is an issue that we need to discuss more openly and with more clarity. When I got back from my military service, I struggled for many years. I struggled with the trauma that I had been through. I struggled with disillusionment from the wars that I fought in, and it manifested itself primarily in depression and anxiety. And I spent a long time in the hole. When you're in it, when you are feeling hopeless, and when you feel like everything around you is impossible to do, when even daily tasks really begin to bog you down, it is very hard to get out of that on your own. You need help. And I was lucky. I was lucky that in 2017, I started getting help from the VA here in the state of Maine. I started getting the resources. And partially it was because the VA reached out to me when I moved back to Maine. The VA in Maine went out of its way to call me up and tell me that I wasn't getting the resources that I was entitled to, that I had earned through my military service. They brought me in and I started getting help. Mental health care, going to talk therapy, being able to deal with the physical therapy and the issues around my body, the pain that I was in, because service in the infantry is rather hard on your joints and your back. It was through that help that I really began to allow myself, or I was given the opportunity to get better. It required me to be vulnerable. It required me to be open with myself and with others about the traumas of my life. And it required me to put in some work to really focus on why I felt the way that I did. But I could not have done it alone. It was the help from the VA combined with a loving community here in Eastern Maine, the community that I grew up in, that really allowed me to feel like I had a place, and it gave me the foundation to do the work to make myself a much happier person. I'm very lucky that I had that support. And we today live in a society where mental health is in crisis. Every single demographic is suffering from this. Absolutely everyone understands that for some reason in today's world, depression and anxiety, it is in every element of our society. The answer to it, I fundamentally believe, is giving people access to the same tools that I had access to, the same kind of support. Mental health care is health care, and all Americans deserve health care. We need to provide the same kind of mental health support that I got as a veteran to absolutely everyone. In our society today, even though people across the spectrum of every demographic group are struggling with mental health, it is often only those who have some wealth or privilege who can get access to good mental health care. That needs to end. But deeper than that, we also have to confront why we're having such a crisis in our society. One of the biggest issues, I firmly believe, is that people spend so much time struggling with the material reality they live in, struggling to make ends meet, working so hard they don't have any free time, working so hard they don't have time for their families or their communities. Combining that with a social media sphere that really allows people to self-isolate and bury themselves into screens, into phones, and not have to connect in the real world. You combine all of that together, and it's a recipe for a mental health crisis. I firmly believe that people will be much happier when given the opportunity to live lives that they want to live. And this is another element of my story that I think is really important. It was the foundational element of healthcare that I get from the VA that gave me the freedom to move back to my hometown and start a small business. It gave me the time to sink my intellect and my physicality into mastering the skills necessary to work on the sea. I've been able to build a nice life in Eastern Maine as an oyster farmer and as a diver, but I would not have been able to do it without the material freedom that VA healthcare gave me. It gave me the ability to find purpose for myself in this world, to create things that I was proud of, to build closer relationships in my family and my community. All of these things take time. They take energy. And today we live in a society that feels like it is constantly robbing us of both our time and our energy. It is requiring us, through our attention, to spend less time with family and community and more time either on work or getting buried underneath a mountain of ads on our social media trying to tell us that we just need to consume more and more, and that's what's going to make us happy. That won't make us happy. What makes human beings happy is fulfillment. What makes them happy is community. Being close with those they love, feeling a sense of purpose, feeling like their existence elevates not just themselves, but all of the people around them. That's what brings us purpose. That's what brings us meaning in this world. We need to change the way our society is structured. We need to have a world in which, as we work, as we create, as we build things, we are compensated fairly for that labor and time. And it also gives us the ability to earn enough to have the free time and the flexibility to spend with our friends and family, to actually spend time in our communities. I fundamentally believe that one of the reasons why we can't do this is that the system understands that if it allowed us to have that time, we would build power. Power comes from community. Power from people comes from people's ability to be connected with each other. And we can't do that when we are all struggling day in and day out just to make ends meet. We can't do that when we have an information system that robs us of our energy and our attention constantly, all in the service of just commodifying our feelings. These are things that we need to change in our society. And I think if we combine that with an underlying support network to provide mental health resources to all in our society who need it, we have a much brighter future ahead of us.